Hey everyone, welcome back to part 2 of my interview with Jennifer Elia. On the last episode, we talked about eliminating homeschool overwhelm that every homeschool mom faces. And we also talked about just the importance of finding support, both globally and locally in your homeschool. And so today, Jennifer is back with us again. Welcome back to the podcast, Jennifer.
Thank you. I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, I'm so glad to have you back. She is the founder of Sound Foundations Homeschool. She's a homeschool mom to 4 kiddos, and she has been a public school teacher and a college professor. She's got lots and lots of training under her belt. So she speaks from experience and also from just education herself and knowledge of having been a teacher. And so one of the things we kind of started talking about at the end of our last episode was we were talking about nurturing a love of learning in our kids. And I have found that to be one of the most important things that we do as homeschool parents, and also one of the hardest things that we do as parents, because we talked in the last episode about the gaps that we all feel like our kids have, and we kind of get this frantic, oh my goodness, our kids are going to have all these holes in their education, and what are we going to do? And you were talking about how it's important to teach them how to love learning, because everybody's going to have gaps in their education. But if they learn how to learn, then they can learn anything.
Yes.
And I've told this story actually before. I've told this story before on the podcast, but I grew up really hating school. I genuinely hated school. And I remember my senior year of high school, I just felt like, oh, thank the Lord, it's done. It's over. I never have to open up another book again. I enjoyed reading for fun, but I did not ever want to open up anything academic ever again in my whole life. And I just felt like, okay, I've checked off that box. I never have to learn anything again as long as I live. And I really wish, now I have a very different opinion about that and view of learning, of course. And now I enjoy learning as an adult, but I wish that I had grown up with a desire to learn and a love for learning things, because everything that we learn can and should point us towards our Creator and having a deeper relationship with Him. So I want to talk about the two things of, one, nurture, why we need to nurture that love of learning in our kids, and then 2, how do we accomplish doing that?
Yes. Well, the first thing is that, like I said in the last one, I love to do research. Like, that is a great passion of mine. I actually love writing research papers. But now that I'm out, most of what I do my research on is education or something like that. However, I was working for Global Learn Day for a while, and one of the things that they wanted me to find out about was preparing people to be lifelong learners, but also preparing them for getting out into the world and being productive adults. And so I really dove into that research. And what I found is that one of the top skills that employers want are people who can learn, like, know how to learn, and are willing to self-educate. So they're willing to keep learning, and they know how to take a topic and find out about it. And I realized that homeschooling really sets us up for that, because if you're in a brick and mortar school, you're checking off those boxes, and you're trying to get from first grade to second, and second to third, and pass this test and earn that certificate. And then in the end, it's considered like a completion, like you're done. But really, when you think about graduation, it's called a commencement, because it's supposed to be beginning the next chapter. And so it should never really end. So I think that when we're thinking about preparing our kids for launching them into the world and preparing them for, future ready careers, one of the biggest things that we can teach them beyond STEM or investing in expensive chemistry equipment or any of that is really how to learn, because the world that they're going to be living in is going to be completely different than what we're doing right now. And that's one thing that I've seen over and over again in these studies about STEM, is that the people that are high up in the technology are saying, listen, the coding you're teaching your kindergartners is not going to exist when they get out. So instead of focusing on that, focus on teaching them how to adapt and learn, and to love that, and also be creative in their learning. So you were saying, like, how do we start that? And I think really it's igniting that spark. When kids are really little, they get fascinated by something. So everyone has their little quirk that they love. Like we were talking earlier about, my oldest just loved Thomas the Tank, and she could name every single engine that there was and tell you what they did and where they lived and what their number was and whatever. And so they did a study a few years ago about children, like young children, preschool and toddlers, and how they obsess on something. And people get upset because we're in this academic mindset that all they want to learn about is dinosaurs. But they found that when you let them dive into that, they become much better learners, and their brains develop much more productively than if you're exposing them to everything and trying to get them to, learn Spanish and know physics and all this other stuff that they're trying to teach preschoolers now. So I think that sometimes we need to step back from where we want them to go and see where they are, especially when they're young, and let them chase that passion a little bit. It's hard to do as moms, as homeschool moms, because we worry, well, if they only want to, like my oldest loves horses, if they only want to learn about horses, then, where does chemistry and algebra fit in? And that will come, but you need to nurture that, that passion within them and let them dive into it. And as they learn how to dive into their passion, they're going to keep reading and learning and studying. And that kind of sets them on the path of understanding how to learn. So now when a new problem comes up, they can go about it to problem solve through it.
Right. I want to take a break. And then when we come back, can we give some very practical ways to do that with kids? And I want to talk about kids with maybe some different learning styles and how that would work with them.
Okay.
Sound good? Okay. Let's take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Okay.